Good evening, all. Welcome you all to the 10th episode of Change Agents Foundation. I'm really glad and to host the speaker of the day, the guest of the day, Mr. Avelo Roy. To talk about the guest, Avelo Roy is the managing director of Kolkata Ventures. Avelo Roy is a serial tech entrepreneur. Excuse me. Right, and he is a serial tech entrepreneur, investor, TV host who started his first startup at the age of 19 around his patent pending technology while still studying as a computer engineer at Illinois State of Technology. He built it to a multi-million dollar valuation by the age of 22. He has built 8 businesses in US and India with multi-billion dollars worth of products and servicing ranges from consumer electronics, artificial intelligence systems, healthcare process automation, food science, wireless communications, wearable technologies, and graphical password applications. He is also the board of advisors in Amity University Online and board of advisors in Comedy Munch. He is the director of ECC Engineering, a leading manufacturing firm in Kolkata. So he is also a former advisor to the Prime Minister of Nepal. And apart from that, he has done an enormous amount of guest lecture in universities like Illinois Institute of Technology, Northwestern University, and several IITs across the country, Delhi, Bombay, Kharagpur, and so on, Hyderabad and Guwahati. As a great grandson of Sarojini Naidu, Avelo continues the legacy forward by tirelessly serving the Indian youth through entrepreneurship education using lean startup methodologies. He is also the recipient of 150 plus awards across the country, across the globe in US, Canada, and China, and he has been a mentor for 1,800 plus startups across the country and across the globe. And he has held 500 plus speaking assignments in TEDx Talks, as also a speaker at TEDx Talks and Joe's Talks. And it's a great honor and a privilege for Change Agents Foundation to welcome and invite Avelo Roy to the program. I'll add him here. Welcome aboard, Avelo Roy. Very good evening, and it's a great feeling to host you on a weekend, Sunday evening. And you got a very fantastic and an inspiring profile. I'm sure you will do a lot of justice to the discussion today because you've been an expert in the space of startups. So I want you to give an introductory speech about you, about what you do as part of Kolkata Ventures, and then we will go on with some questions for you.
Sure, Manikandan. So, Kolkata Ventures is the largest startup incubator in East India. We have 400 plus revenue generating startups. We've been there for 4 years now. Once I came to India, I started my first week in 2016, this company, because at that time, the startup revolution was just starting out. And it was very wonderful in one sense. In another sense, it was very raw because most colleges were not teaching entrepreneurship. They didn't have an e-cell. The people who were talking about startups had never built a startup. So what we decided was, let's focus on entrepreneurship education, seed funding, and give them resources. So it's all under one roof. And that way our startups can be educated into becoming an entrepreneur, those who have the zest, the zeal to do that, and then slowly taking them from there to getting funded, and then thereafter, whatever else they need to get the resources, the lawyers, accountants, developers, designers to get through. So 412 revenue generating startups and growing, 4,500 new jobs. We are in 5 countries right now. We started with Kolkata, Bengal, India, and then now we have grown across the country, across the world, in fact, in 5 different countries. So it's been a wonderful journey. Very I feel wonderful that people whose parents have not even been able to get salaries more than 10,000 rupees a month are making 70, 80 lakhs a month, right? So that's like many people's dream come true has happened because of this. So that's the most satisfying thing.
Okay. No, starting up is not very easy, as you know. There's a fear of failure. There is a lot of uncertainty, unfamiliarity in venturing into a zone. Rather, I would settle for a secure income, a job. Whereas starting up with a new venture is always challenging. So, as you rightly said, from a 10,000 rupees income to few lakhs is something which is phenomenal. So, how do you come up with some ideas? How do you mentor a person like me? For example, if I would like to start on a business, what is it that you suggest for me?
See, ideas dime a dozen. I don't care about ideas. What we generally focus on is problem solving. If there is a market that's big enough, if there's a problem that's big enough, and you are able to solve that problem with technology, with creativity, with your resourcefulness, then there is money to be made. It's that simple, right? So generally what I look at is help the entrepreneur figure out what skills God has given you, what you're passionate about. Select a problem and a market based on your passion and based on your skill. So you might be passionate about cars, so you might be looking at the automobile industry, the transportation industry, right? And you look at what problems are there, and there are plenty of problems, but not all problems are for you. But what problems you have specifically, skills that you can get started, and you target those problems, and you figure out that okay, you don't have all the skills, so you build a team, and with that team you're able to get the skills that you don't have, so you have complementary skills among your co-founding team, and together you can solve that problem that the market is willing to pay for. Even if the solution is not perfect, still the people are willing to pay for that solution. And that's what you go for a dire enough problem, because people don't look for perfection, they look for a solution, right? And every startup, if you look at it, they were not perfect from day one. In fact, every company, every phone, everything you see, it has a version 1, version 2, version 10, version 100, right? So you're perpetually, so there is no such thing as perfection. Many entrepreneurs spend a lot of time in analysis paralysis, where they're just trying to perfect their idea for the longest time and they don't go to market. And that's a big problem. If you look at it, most companies just get it out there and let the market tell you, this is what I want, this is not working, let's fix this. And you fix it as you go, rather than build it all at once and then hope you'll have the perfect product, which never happens.
Okay. So you mentioned about working with the entrepreneurs or someone wanting to set up a business. What is it that you do? For me, for example, I've never taken a risk. I've always been an employee. I've always been employed. But there are some thoughts that will crop up my mind that I should start up a business. But what is it that you do to work on my self-efficacy? Yeah.
You already have certain skills. You've been working for a long time. You have certain skills. So it's not that you have to quit your job. What you do, and we spoke this in the Dubai Myth also when we spoke last time, is you figure out the inefficiencies in the system that you know of. You've been working in a certain system and you know, I can do this better than these guys, right? Or there is something I can make faster, as a startup. And that's where it all starts, really. You and your colleagues get together and like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this and sell it to this company? Right. And it could be that simple. And you get started with that. And slowly you see there is a customer who's willing to pay you for it. And then if that's there, you get the paperwork done and you quit your job and you start, you have a customer before you quit your job. That's the important part. You should have the revenue before you quit your job. It shouldn't be like, I quit my job. Oh, shit. Now what do I do? Right. So it's much better that you figure out the problem, you figure out the scenario, get the team together, and then slowly, so you ease your risk. It's not like entrepreneurship means you have to jump from a mountain just for the heck of risking your life. You have to risk your life. No, you take calculated risk, you take moderated risk based on the potential profitability that is out there. So every investor is trying to reduce their risk profile. So is every entrepreneur trying to reduce their risk profile, because it doesn't make any sense to unnecessarily take risk in a direction that you don't know. So educate yourself with data, educate yourself with experience, with people who know, right? Look at the future, see if there's a potential for what you're trying to solve. And if there is a potential, then go all out with it.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Yeah. So as you said, I have a plan, I have an idea in mind. So how do I bring that idea to fruition, from idea to a product in the market? Are there any methodologies that you would suggest, or do I need to follow a particular process? What is the roadmap?
Yeah. So what we generally do is lean startup methodology, right? That's what we follow. That's what we teach. So I wish I could tell you everything in 1 hour conversation, but it's a process. It's a very systematic, scientific process that has come out of Stanford University after researching 10,000 startups that have become successful businesses, right? And that has worked for my 8 businesses that I personally built and sold, and it has worked for the 400 plus revenue generating startups of Kolkata Ventures. So it's basically, in short, you don't build everything for everyone, right? You build something for someone. You focus on a narrow niche. You build something that's a minimum viable product. Slowly you build, you test, you learn, you build, you test, you learn, you make your mistakes, don't repeat the mistakes. And eventually you come to a point where like, aha, this works, people are liking it. And then you have repeatable, scalable business model. Once you have the repeatable, scalable business model, then you grow across geographies, right? But you start small, you grow slow, then you grow fast, right? So it's a step-by-step process. You reduce your risk at every level, right? Generally, the mistake people do is, I want to build everything for everyone on day one. And that's not how any company or any product that you use today has been built, right? So you have to be understanding of that fact. Now, there's obviously nuances of every stage of the way, from ideation to product development to go-to-market strategy to launching financials, all of that, right? But basically, this is the crux of it.
All right. Okay. Right. So how do we? I have a business plan, and I have prepared a go-to-market strategy and all that. So how do I raise funds? Is it always better to raise at the beginning of promoting a product, or after you run the product and you prove yourself and you showcase it to your potential investor?
Yeah.
At what stage I choose that?
If I told you, Manikandan, give me some money, I have a great idea, I'm going to change the world, you would laugh at me, right?
Exactly.
Same thing with investors. They want to see, what have you done? Why should I give you the money? I can do it myself. You tell me the idea, you pitch me the idea, I'm going to do it myself. Why should I go with you? You say, oh, because I have already done this, I have proved it, I have the team, I have already gotten traction, and validation is already there. So I have done the hard work before getting to your money. Now your money can help me grow from here. What I've already built without your money, I can do 10 times more with your money. And that's why you should invest in my company. That's the pitch, right?
Okay.
I'm here to grow your money. Generally, what entrepreneurs go to investors with is like, give me, so that I can grow my business. But the other way around is, help me grow your money by growing my business, right? Where we both grow together. So it's a mutual interest. Both investor needs an entrepreneur, entrepreneur needs an investor, right?
Yeah.
Grow together.
Okay. He also become a partner with you and along the journey, right? Okay.
That's what it is. It's a partner.
It is. Yeah. So, what are the drivers of startups? You know, when I say drivers, what are the support system that we have as a country for a startup ecosystem to build as a country?
See, an entrepreneur is somebody who resources himself with the support that they need. They reach out. Like, I get at least 100 plus LinkedIn requests, and more than that, much more messages on LinkedIn, Instagram, people asking me for help. And that's what entrepreneurs do. You identify, I want to be like this guy, or I want to be in this industry. You identify expert, and you reach out to them and say, please guide me, and I want your mentorship. As a government, of course, there's Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra loans, all of those wonderful things that are given by the government. Atal incubation labs in every state. There are multiple colleges that have Atal incubation labs, Atal tinkering labs, right? All of that is there. I'm sure in Saudi also, you guys have your own support system, UAE and whatnot. But the important part is, none of those are as effective as you reaching out to what you need. You know what you need, right? And you have to reach out for your own help. Right, and that's what an entrepreneur does, because there has been entrepreneurs before this whole startup ecosystem existed, right? And there will be always entrepreneurs. So point is, the reason why somebody is a successful entrepreneur, they know how to get what they want and where they need it.
Right. So we are in a very challenging situation where the global pandemic has thrown everything out of gear. How has it impacted the business? Are there any change in the perspectives, or how the businesses operate now, or how are the people viewing a startup?
You know, a lot of our digital startups have grown anywhere between 300% to 1700%, and thanks to Corona, because they have been able to align with the needs and demands of the pandemic situation. So they have grown. Those who have not been able to cater to align themselves to the current need, they are suffering and they're dying. Many companies are dying. You know, Airbnb was supposed to go public this year, and Airbnb is filing for bankruptcy, I heard. So you know, if you're not, if you're in the hospitality industry, travel industry, you're screwed in one sense, and that is what it is. But if you're in the healthcare domain, if you're in the domain of anything with digital technology, online education, etc., companies are booming, and that's a fact. So a lot of our Kolkata Ventures incubator startups are hiring, and many of the big established businesses are firing people, right? So it's natural evolution as I see it. It's basically the old goes away, the new comes in. Same thing if you look at the dot-com bubble burst back in 2000s, early 2000s. The Google, that's when Google came out, and everybody, all the other companies that were raising lots of money from lots of valuation were going down, right? Oyo is down, right? So many companies like that, WeWork and all these companies that were banking on valuation and the whole game. Corona has destroyed a lot of these companies. So yes, there are certain industries where it's broken, and there are certain industries that are booming, and it's going to keep booming. Given people, this is not a temporary thing; it's a permanent situation where social distancing is going to be more or less a permanent thing. People are going to travel less; they're more used to Zoom. Right now what we're doing, this is any other time I would have been invited, to where I'm going. So, because I did never like webinars and digital, because I like to shake hands, I like to have dinners together, I like to talk to human beings. But now I'm getting used to this. Over the last 5 months, I don't know how many hundreds of webinars I've done, and it's literally, I'm used to it, and it's great. So that's what's going to be the future. So people, it's no more work from home; it's work from wherever you want. Right?
Okay.
You want to work in the mountains, you want to work in the ocean, you work wherever you want, wherever there's internet, you can work. So that's how the whole world is changing, and it's great. I love this.
I think that will bring about a lot of change in the business models and the business canvas altogether.
New businesses are popping up as a result of this change.
Okay.
Hotels are opening up their lobbies for co-working space. People are working in hotels rather than staying in hotels, right? People are having pods, where working pods, they're completely insulated, but you still want the feeling of being somewhere else, being around people, right? So new business models are coming up. Fashion, the masks have become new fashion icon right now, where people are wearing matching masks with matching suits and matching saris or whatever else, right? So it's fantastic. People are finding new opportunities using the pandemic situation.
Life has to go on, yeah. And what about these institutions? I think generally they say catch them young. Generally, when as a Indian institutions, if you see, when they join a college, students look at placements going for a job. Is it echoing? Sorry.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So yeah, my question to you is, excuse me, for me it's echoing. Give me a second. Yeah. So, what is your advice for the student community? Because I've been seeing you interacting with a lot of students.
Students, it's nothing different. It's just go get an internship, go get experience, learn something, do something, build your own project, be a creator, right? As long as you have internet, have a laptop and a phone, there's nothing you cannot do. So if you're not getting a job, great. Start your own website, start your own e-commerce website if you want, start your own drop shipping business if you want, start your own whatever you need to build. There's so many digital opportunities out there. You can build platforms. Just go on YouTube, learn a new skill, apply it in your new project, and make money. Your payment gateway is available readily, connected with your bank, and whatever you think that you can offer to current the needs of the market, whichever market you're in, you can make money digitally speaking, sitting at home. There's no excuses for anyone not to make money during this pandemic. It's really so simple, because now we are pushed to be digital, and there's so much opportunity in digital, so much free tools available in digital, right? One can start within 1,000 rupees and go all out with it.
True, yeah. And what about some of the, would you be able to give us some cases on some of the startups that you've been part of, success stories of some companies, or the most recent ideas?
Sure. So what domain are you looking for?
Could be in edutech, anything in the technology space.
So, for example, one of the companies that I was part of that we sold a couple of years back, it was basically healthcare automation. So basically in the US, the doctor's office does certain procedures. That goes to the billing company. They bill it, and that goes to the insurance company. Insurance pays the doctor. So the billing process was pretty much done by human beings, fixing the issues. Maybe doctor missed something, or there was some errors, whatnot. So one of the largest billing companies in the US invited our company and said, help us automate it. Help us fire as many people as you can. Replace it with software. And we were extremely successful with that. We were able, it was a multi-million dollar project. And in a matter of 2 years, we were able to get rid of 90% of a company that hired 800 people, right? 90% people gone. And what they would do in 7 days, we were able to do 1/6 of a second with our software. And it works 24/7, doesn't need breaks, doesn't need vacations, doesn't need weekends off, right? So profitability went through the roof for this billing company. They bought us out, in fact. And the doctors had no clue that that happened. The doctors, the 10% that couldn't be replaced were the relationship managers who were interfacing with the doctors, right?
Yeah.
So though that software cannot do the human aspect, the atma aspect, the conscious aspect that we are specifically unique for, that cannot be replaced by a software. But everything that is technical, everything that is automated, mechanical, can be replaced by software. And that's very, very powerful to imagine, because tomorrow, as we're going with driverless cars and everything getting automated, artificial intelligence, extended reality, all of that, what are we going to be left to do? That's a big question. It's the existential question. And the answer is, we have to be more human. We have to compete with technology. We don't have to compete with technology. Rather, we are already superior to technology because we are conscious beings, and we can do technology cannot do. We can think, feel, live, breathe. That's who we are. We are conscious. And that's what I saw. What I learned from this exit was that the 10% couldn't be replaced are the people who are human. They can communicate. They can build trust and maintain trust. And they have been with the doctors for 10, 15 years, and we would dare not replace them, because then the doctors would leave, right? The customers would be gone. So we want to make sure the doctors don't get jittery. They are happy dealing with the same relationship manager. And that's true for any environment where we humans have a very unique role, and we need to be really good at it now than ever before, right? Otherwise, what happens is we are very good at pressing buttons. But when it comes to saying hi to a human being, being nice to, being kind, being compassionate, we're losing that. Right? Especially us men, more than women. Women are still very emotional, empathetic. So you see more CEOs are women happening. It's changing, and men are becoming dull and duller. So that's terrible for us. So we need to survive, and for that we have to be more human. We have to have the emotional side of our brain opened up, the creative side of our brain opened up, and that's what's going to be make us relevant in 2030, 2040, 2050. Going forward.
So yeah, comparing a job goer or an employee with an entrepreneur, he does just one particular role. He plays a single role in the organization, so it becomes very easy for him to play the role and get paid every month. It's a very secure process, and there is a lot of satisfaction in that. But for someone who ventures into business, for many, I think I'm talking about the many, because the venture is very few nowadays. So for someone venturing into the business.
So no, that's the thing. It's not for everyone. If you're happy doing the same thing every day and making money, and that gives you happiness, please stick with it. That company needs you, and you need that company, because you will die when you come to business.
Right.
You will cry every night and say to yourself, why did I quit my amazingly nice paying job where I could do the same thing every day, and if that gave me happiness? So that's not for you. Business, entrepreneurship, leadership, this is for 1% of the population, right? It's not for everyone. So it's important that you don't make the mistake thinking everybody can do everything, right? I wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid. And when one day I went to the hospital and I saw a patient who was bleeding, I fainted. Literally, I fainted. And my mother said, okay, you don't have to study this. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to cut out a patient or whatever. Not for me. Even I've never cut a frog also in labs. It's just not my cup of tea. I cannot hurt a living being. That's who I am by nature. So for me, I cannot be a doctor. So similarly, for somebody else, they cannot be an entrepreneur, and they shouldn't even think about it, right? So please understand, it's not for everyone. It's struggle, it's chaos. To make sense of chaos, not everybody can do that. To feel rejected and keep going, not everybody can do that. People look at the Ferrari and think that is what entrepreneurship is all about. It's not. It's nights and nights and nights and days and days of struggles, right? Everybody misunderstands you. Family misunderstands you, disowns you, right? And then they own you back. You talked about Sarojini Naidu, right? Would you believe me if I told you our family rejected her completely for having a love marriage, right? Because she was a Chatterjee, she married Naidu, right? And the Bengali community, they were very embarrassed that, she did love marriage 100 years ago, right? Did she care? No. She went on, she got higher education, she did what she wanted to do, and that's why she's celebrated for who she is today, right? I'm very proud to be her in her lineage. The important part is that you cannot expect others to appreciate you. If that is who you are, then this is not for you. Do something else. Be happy in wherever you feel happiness.
Okay, so you mean to say if you're comfortable in the comfort zone, don't take risk.
Don't take risks. Don't screw up your life, rather.
All right.
Especially if you're married
But
with kids, do not screw up your life.
but on the other side, instead of comparing between a job goer, an employee, a regular employee, and the businessman, there are companies like if you see some brands like HCL, they started off something called entrepreneurship, and Amazon companies like
Every
Amazon.
company has entrepreneurs, not just HCL.
Yeah.
Every company has entrepreneurs. And those are the people who are not okay with the same thing every day. That's
Okay.
why they're a CXO. That's why they're a VP. That's why they're a manager. Because manager means today this team, tomorrow that team, this problem, that problem. That's what entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial mindset is. That you're not just dealing with one thing, you're dealing with multiple fires, and you can manage it. And that's why you're an entrepreneur, right? You're resourceful. Company says, I cannot give you money, figure it out. The Jugaru mentality is there, right? That's entrepreneurship. And that's, if you can do that, you can do entrepreneurship also. So then the question is, why am I doing it for another company? Why not for myself?
All right. So if I have to ask you, give me a list of 10 good performing industries and good business ideas, what that would be.
Definitely healthcare is going to be one. Telehealthcare, especially. A lot of doctors are using telehealthcare platforms to give medication and all that. Number two is going to be FMCG, fast moving consumer goods. So if you look at it, a lot of hand sanitizers, and people need the daily things, soaps and toothbrush, whatever, So FMCG is going to do very well. So
Yes.
any company dealing with FMCG, groceries, online, etc., they will do very, very well. Astrology, of all things, people are scared. They want to know what's the future. Insurance, they're very scared. People are getting insurance far more than ever before. Health insurance, car insurance, this, that, right? Like that, if you just look at it, whatever is fear related industry would do very well, right? Whatever is digital, online courses, so education is changing permanently, right? A lot of the big institutions are not getting students to come, right? A lot of the big companies, Amazon and Microsoft and Google, they're saying we don't need degrees. If you can build something, if you can create something, if you have skills, we'll hire you, right? So both sides, the employer side, the education side, both sides are changing massively, forced to change and forced to come digital. So anything aligned in that direction is also going to be very, very good. Dating, mental health, right? People are suffocated staying at home. They're having issues with their family members, right? It's so they need mental health issues, help with that,
Yeah.
meditation, things like that. So I didn't count how many I told you, but I think that kind of
Yeah.
summarizes, multiple avenues where it's booming and it's going to grow.
Okay. So, how about the? So I was going through some data points stating that there were about 50,000 plus startups in India, and most of them are technology. Most of them are in the technology space. So, how is as a country we are viewed globally in terms of the startup culture as a globally? How is India viewed?
It's
Are they
not,
seeing this country?
it's a good place for investment, but our startups don't go global. We are
Right.
such a big country that 1.5 billion people is enough to make you happy. So not many companies go global. So for example, Ola has gone global, Oyo has tried to go global, and there are some others. But we are not known as a company that builds companies like Skype or Airbnb. Like we know Estonia or Netherlands as companies that really have cool startups that go global. Or Israel is known for its innovation. Of course, the United States definitely has the leading role in startups. India doesn't have that. Having said that, Indians are known for technology, known for hard work, known for surviving through. We're like cockroaches. We survive through anything, right? We just because life is so hard here, we have to bribe everyone. Everything is broken, so we know how to survive and thrive, and that's what Indians are known for. That these guys give them anything, they'll make it happen, right? So that's there. But having said that, our startups have not gone global. We shout startups within the country, and we do okay, but globally our impact is not there. It will happen. It's just an initial stage, right? We have been exploited for so many hundreds of years, and finally we missed the industrial revolution. We won the IT revolution, and that IT revolution has made us the IT capital of the world, right? And now we are reaping the benefits by having amazing companies that are doing very well. We are getting investments from outside because India itself is a big enough country, a big enough market with high buying power, growing in tier 2, tier 3 cities. But externally speaking, countries don't look at India as still that place. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. Given China's situation, everybody wants India to be there, right? And so it is our opportunity to rise and shine.
Yeah. So I started this Change Agents Foundation as a social venture. Started in June 2020 during this lockdown period, and I have plans to scale it up. So the very purpose of having this forum is to raise awareness around health, wealth, careers, and relationships. So I was able to cover the other topics, but under wealth, I was not able to find the right person. The reason being there was very less number of people who was talking about entrepreneurship and business. In the health sector, I'm sure you'll have a lot of doctors and other people, coaching, mentoring, everything is available. But in the wealth sector, if you see, you will only be having an insurance advisor or a mutual funds advisor.
Or a
But
motivational speaker who's never been any wealth, who's not even close to
absolutely,
any
how
wealth.
to attract money. Because I always believe in the fact that money is always a byproduct of the value that you add to the people, the solution that you give to a broader problem. So in that context, how did this occur to you to be a startup entrepreneur, coaching or a startup entrepreneurship? I mean, you're encouraging startup entrepreneurship. How did you get into this whole new space?
Growing up in a political family, what I noticed, there's two things that solve problems: power and money, right? And I was told after 7 generations of politics, I was told you cannot join politics. You're too naive for it. You are, it's too dirty for you. Go get educated and do something different. And I chose entrepreneurship. So that was my second option. In fact, I would have joined politics if I had the choice, but I was told not to. So I started my own entrepreneurship, and that's what I do. Is for me, solving problems is very important. I like to see happy faces. I like to see sad faces become happy, and that's why I teach Bhagavad Gita. That's why I do, build products based on technology, right? So any way I can solve people's problems and make them happy. That's what entrepreneurship is to me, and that's why I jumped on the bandwagon. I never took a job. I just took on entrepreneurship from my college itself, patented my technology, and just commercialized it and went forward. Right, and continue to do so. But again, that's who I am. Not everybody is like that, and I highly recommend that people don't follow what I did. Many people write to me like, "Oh, you were 19 years old. I also want to be the same." I'm like, I come from a different family, but I learned people's skills very early on. I learned a lot of skills that people don't get exposed to, for a long time. Whereas in other people's lives, they are just 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I suggest that you get internships, you get a job, you learn skills, you learn how to work, you learn time management, you learn how to be a human being, how to talk to people, how to communicate, and then join entrepreneurship, because then you will actually not be reinventing the wheel. Otherwise, what happens is you just go with passion and you don't have skills, and you fall flat on your face, and it's a lot of showmanship. But when it comes to revenue, that doesn't happen.
You mentioned about the technology and your tech entrepreneurship that you've been. I also went through your profile to understand that. So you mean to say that any product or a solution that you develop, integrating that to the technology is very important in this scenario or the current situation that we live in?
Not necessarily. If it is, so technology is a means to an end. It's a tool, right? For example, if I have to, how do I say? Okay, cleaning the room, right? I can use a vacuum cleaner, or I can have a maid who can probably clean, or I can take up the broom myself and clean it. There are three options. So technology is like that. It's enabler. Some cases it makes life a lot more efficient, so it's absolutely worth it. So for example, right, when you're buying air tickets or train tickets, right, technology is far, far, far more important, because you don't have to go stand in line at the airport or wherever else, right? Versus buying a shirt, everybody has a shop near their house. They can go buy a shirt, try it on, look at the mirror and be like, this looks good, this doesn't look good. Whereas buying it over the internet might be like, you buy it, oh, it doesn't look good on me, it looked good on the picture, and you return it and all of that, right? So buying shirt, technology might not be necessary for it. You can go to a mall and buy it. Whereas buying air ticket, technology is absolute must, because it gives you more efficiency, it gives you less pricing, it gives you all kinds of facilities. So it's absolutely worth. So see it as an enabler. Don't see it as an end all be all. I hear everybody saying AI for everything. Like, hello, you cannot have AI without data sets. The only companies who can have proper magic of AI is Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, who have access to millions and millions of people's data. They can use that data to ignite the intelligence of a product. But what can a startup do? With 1,000 people's data, what can you do? Really nothing, right? You cannot. It's not significant statistically speaking to come to any conclusion. If 1,000 people have done it this way in a billion people's country, you cannot say everybody does it that way, right? So artificial intelligence won't work if you don't have data sets. So the point is, don't just shove technology down people's throat. Use it as an enabler wherever it's necessary. And wherever you can, tie up with the data sets of these big companies. Like Google has this AI engine. It can make it accessible to you, right? You can tie up with a Samsung phone company where they can give you the data sets with which you can actually build on top of that, right? So work with them rather than trying to be like, I'm an AI startup, give me $25 million.
Now, nowadays, AI is built for even smaller companies as a solution. Financial institutions, yeah, I understand. It makes sense. Now, listening to you, it makes sense. It occurs to me, yeah. So
financial institution makes sense because financial institutions have a lot of data. They have tremendous amount of data of their customers, right? That makes sense. But if you're any Tom, Dick, and Harry startup and you say you're an AI startup, it's just jargon, and every investor knows it now, right? It's like cure for cancer. Every health tech startup will be like, oh, we have cured cancer. How much efficiency? 10%. Sure. And that's a big number, apparently. 10 to 12% is a big number, apparently, because there's so less a company that are curing cancer. But that's the whole thing. It's if you just dig below, it's a lot of bull.
So you are mentoring a lot of individuals, business owners, students. Do you adopt a particular process or methodology? What is it that you do for an individual business owner?
See, we have multiple stages of incubation. There is seed stage, there is growth stage, there is acceleration for scale up stage. So depends. So I don't deal with the idea stage startups directly. Maybe once in a while, if they need they're stuck somewhere, I might spend 15, 20 minutes. But generally, I deal with the growth and the scale up stage companies that have some level of revenue, some level of validation, serious founders. Because what happens, the idea stage, many people come, then they get a job because they realize, oh shit, this is not for me. This is too much. Oh my God, I thought I'll get the Ferrari in first month, and that didn't happen, right? So, but the growth and the acceleration stage, they are actually serious. They've done the hard work, and they are just clueless now. They've hit that ceiling, whether it's 1 crore, 10 crores, and they don't know how to go from 10 crores to 100 crores, right? And that's where we come in, and we help them break that glass ceiling, growth hack their business, and take it to the next level.
What is your view on the SaaS companies? The SaaS companies are doing predominantly well across the country, and several states are becoming the hub of SaaS products. Is it the future? Is it the way forward?
Everything has a future. SaaS companies that you hear that are doing well are the SaaS companies that are doing well, just like the health tech company, just like the edutech companies. So everybody is a SaaS right now. I mean, fine, but there are niches that are doing better than others, right? What's important to understand is also look at the failure rate. There are many SaaS companies who have been built, launched, and didn't go anywhere, right? Hundreds of people, thousands of people have failed. So understand that also. So yes, success and failure is just like what you get to hear about it. It feels like it's success, but you also need to see what you don't hear about, right? So don't cloud your judgment by what you hear. Focus on what your strength is, what God has given you, the skills, the passion that you have, and you will always find a market, especially in India, in the Gulf region, in Asia. You will always find a market where you can align your skills with the problem that the market is facing and just go for that. Don't look at what is working, what is not, what is growing, what is not. You'll always have a market for what your skill set is, and just go with solving a problem. Find a problem
Sometimes,
that's dire enough, people are willing to pay for solving it, and just go for it.
yeah, sometimes too much of information and mulling over too many things will also land up in trouble. So I went through your resume and I mean went through your profile, and also during the last conversation that you had with the 5 a.m. club members, you mentioned and talked a lot about Bhagavad Gita. So what are your learnings from Bhagavad Gita that you practice in business or in your profession?
Everything I do pretty much is based on Bhagavad Gita, because it's not just a book for worshipping and rituals. It's a book of living life, right?
Okay.
So let's say as a leader, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad Yad Acharati Shrestha Tatta Deva Prayojana. So whatever the leaders do, the great men do, followers, people follow them. So that means you're being watched as a leader of the organization, as a leader of your household, as a teacher, as a professor, as a mentor. So whatever you do, if you're smoking and you're saying don't smoke, right? I have a doctor uncle who does that, right? He smokes and he tells people don't smoke. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do what I say, not what I do, right? And like, that's not how it works, right? You set an example. So Bhagavad Gita focuses on saying that leaders should set an example for others to follow, right? And your example speaks far louder than your words, because there's a lot of motivational speakers, but you look at their lives, what are they doing, right? And that's very, very important. People do research today in social media and whatnot. You're very transparent. You cannot lie and live a life, right? Number two is anger management. People get attached to ideas. People get attached to the results of if I do this, I'll get this. Oh, and then they get exploited by fear, right? So there is two ways of working. One is through fear. One is through love. Bhagavad Gita teaches you, it frees you from fear. That know where the source is, who is your source. And if you're supposed to get something, it's in your destiny, it's in your karma, you will get it. If you're not meant to get it, no matter how much you try, you won't get it. So don't let somebody else exploit you for it, right? You work hard, you do your best, you do the connections. I'm not saying sit in a cave and do it. Be out in the world, do what everybody else does it. But mentally speaking, how a Bhagavad Gita student looks at the world is a vision of freedom. You cannot be exploited by somebody else, because you're doing 100%, but you're not stuck up on this is exactly how my life should turn out to be. You're open to change. You're open to ideas. Krishna says, Matra Sparshasta Kantya Shita Ushna Shikodakota. That means just like there's changing seasons, heat and cold. No, like that, happiness and distress happens, right? If you're happy now, distress will come. If you're distressed now, happiness is coming. That's how I've designed the system. It's all about change. So be ready for the change and stick with me, because my relationship with you won't change. That is permanent. Everything else changes, but I will never leave you. So stick with that. Let that be your strength, and let everything else be a part of your activities, right? So when you know these things, it empowers you from within. Whether success or failure, which is a part of an entrepreneur's life, right? You have profit today, tomorrow you will be saying like, oh shit, you're not working out, right? But internally empowered by your creator, your father, Krishna in my case, right? And that allows you the strength to fight through when others are looking down upon you, laughing at you, you're going through so-called failures, to fight through those failures and come out of it victorious. Most people die at that point. When they fail, they're embarrassed, they get into guilt, they get into depression, and they just hide themselves and quit, right? But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna keeps repeating to Arjun, get up and fight. Get up and fight. Get up and fight. So that's what we do. We get up and we keep fighting.
True. The most essential need of a human being is loving and being loved, is what I think I saw in one of your presentations sometime back.
That's the Atma. That's the nature of. So dharma, the word dharma in English is called religion. But in Sanskrit, the dharma, the way to explain that is the constitutional nature of the soul. What is the Atma's nature? It is to love and be loved. That's it. Pure and simple, right? We love to love others. We love to receive love. And the biggest source of love is coming from God, who is always there with us life after life, right? Not just this lifetime. If you believe in reincarnation, as we go through, Atma and Paramatma are always together, right? That relationship never breaks. So love and be loved is that nature, right? And based on that, everything else is built. So you love your employees, you love your spouse, you love your parents, you love your children, you love the dog, you love the trees. If you look at the world through the lens of love, then you care for everything. There's compassion, kindness in everything. And you look at the everything through fear, then what happens is all about survival. Oh my God, if I don't elbow my partner, I might not survive. So let me elbow everything out of the way so I can survive, right? That's fear driven. And love driven is let me help everyone and grow together.
Yeah, true.
Imagine how the world would be if that was our mentality, right? If every politician thought like that, if every cop thought like that, every person thought like that, how the world would be. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But we can only work on ourselves, right? And you and I can work on ourselves. We cannot tell others to do what they do. But by being good people, loving, kind, compassionate people, people around us will change. That's the way to influence others. By changing ourselves, we influence the world around us. Our little world, whatever little that is.
Absolutely. No, venturing into a business is a huge responsibility, they say. And for you, anchoring and mentoring huge, large number of startups is a very big responsibility. And you shouldn't be listening to your family. You should come into politics, is what I feel, because the political landscape is also changing. Because the political landscape is also changing, and the people who strongly believe in Bhagavad Gita should also venture into politics and show a new political, create a new political landscape. Maybe I think you must be aware of Kamal Hassan was done that.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you so much for joining this event, and I have come to a close of this particular conversation. And if you have something to add as a closing remark, as a concluding conversation, I would be glad to hear from you.
Just one last thing I want to share is that always know that there is a way. There is the 99% and the 1%. And whenever you hear a no, know that that no can be made into a maybe, and the maybe can turn into a yes. But most people don't ask. That's why they don't go to the yes. So one thing about entrepreneurship that you can learn, even if you're not an entrepreneur, is learn to negotiate and get what you want. So that way, even if you're in a job or in a professional setting or an NGO, wherever you are, you'll always make the most of the opportunities that are present in your life. Otherwise, you'll always get a little less than what is your full potential.
True. And viewers, I'd like to take some questions if at all you have something. We have come to a close of this particular program, and I'll see if I. Give me some time, Avelo. I'll just see if there are some questions for you. All right. Okay, Avelo, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. It was a very short notice, and you agreed to come online to share this wonderful insights for the benefit of the viewers. And I'm so happy that I'm glad that I have hosted you on the 10th episode. I've been doing this since June, and as I already shared, a lot of veteran speakers who spoke on this particular platform, and I really enjoy doing this as an individual social responsibility. And for your time and for sharing your insights, and thank you so much on behalf of Change Agents Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Hello viewers, thank you so much for the encouragement and the followership. Thank you all, and continue to be part of this venture, continue to be part of this organization. And I'll see you with a good speaker next time. And thank you all. Have a good weekend.